The Supreme Court has just issued a major ruling on abortion in this country, the most consequential since Roe v. Wade was overturned 2 years ago. Now, this case concerns the availability and access to the abortion pill mifepristone. Just moments ago, the court ruling unanimously to maintain availability. It will stay where it is in this country. I want to bring in Terry Moran live at the Supreme Court. Essentially, the justices on the court said the plaintiffs here lacked the legal right to challenge availability of mifepristone on a number of counts.
Exactly, David. This is a big case. It's a big case on abortion rights, specifically on that drug mifepristone, which has been the source of so much controversy. The FDA's approval of mifepristone for use was challenged by a group of doctors. These are not doctors who treat pregnant women or who perform abortions at all. They had conscience objections. They were anti-abortion rights, pro-life in their lingo, doctors who objected to the approval of mifepristone. They said that at some point, perhaps in some emergency room, they would find a woman who had complications from taking mifepristone, and that would violate their conscience. What the Supreme Court said is that's not a real injury under the law. In order to bring a lawsuit, you have to have standing. That means you have to be deliberately affected by that law, not some conscience objection, especially since this law has exceptions for doctors who do not want to have anything to do with performing abortions. And so in a unanimous opinion, how often do you hear that from the Supreme Court, written by Justice Brett Kavanaugh, with a concurring opinion by Justice Thomas, but unanimous in the result, the Supreme Court says this kind of case brought essentially by activists rather than physicians who are treating this issue with this drug is not enough to get you into federal court and make a claim. It is essentially keeping the action in the courts limited to people who genuinely are impacted by this, so that someone who merely has an ideological or religious or conscience objection to what the government is doing can't just come into court and say, I'm injured because of that. You have to stop it. And so the bottom line, mifepristone remains available as it has been for women, including in the most recent FDA action, which made it available to people without having to go to a doctor. During the pandemic, they did that. All of the controversy over this drug now at this point seems settled by this unanimous opinion by the Supreme Court.
Let's just broaden out here for a moment, Terry, reporting this unanimous decision from the court on the issue of mifepristone. The justices on the court essentially telling those who brought the case they lack the legal right to challenge this. They don't prescribe the drug. They listed a number of other reasons why they don't have the right to challenge. But again, for those of you watching here this morning, mifepristone can be prescribed and sent through the mail in many states in this country. And of course, in the wake of the rollback of Roe versus Wade, this is a significant ruling. It means that mifepristone will still be available in many states in this country. It is used for the majority of abortions in the U.S. by women who are up to 10 weeks pregnant. So, Terry, this is significant, and bring the audience up to speed as to where mifepristone is still available here in the U.S.
Well, that obviously depends on state-to-state laws right now. In those states, and there's a big controversy about that because it can be mailed now under the 2021 revisions by the FDA during the pandemic, saying that women did not have to have an in-person doctor's visit to receive a prescription for mifepristone. Many of the states which have sought to limit or virtually eliminate access to abortion are objecting to that. But this ruling does not touch any of that. That is for a future case or controversy. And I just want to read one line from Justice Brett Kavanaugh's opinion for a unanimous court. He recognized why this case was brought. Justice Kavanaugh, writing for the court, the plaintiffs have sincere moral, ideological, and policy objections to elective abortion and to the FDA's relaxed regulation of mifepristone. But under the Constitution, Justice Kavanaugh says, those kinds of objections alone do not establish a case or controversy that the judiciary can resolve. And he says that's what really the democratic processes are for. They can go and try and elect a president they want who can change those regulations at the FDA. They can try to have Congress pass a law, but bringing a suit like this won't work.